Oxford from the inside. The good, the bad, but always the truth.
Hey guys, welcome to Oxford from the Inside, the good, the bad, but always the truth. Today we're here with Anthony. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Anthony. I am a third year historian.
Nice. And today's we have a quickfire question, and our question is: if you could do any other degree, what would it be?
Okay, thanks. So I think I'd start by saying that I probably would still pick the degree that I'm doing. I would still pick a degree with history in it if I had the choice again. But if I had to do a degree that involved no history, I'd probably pick PPE. So for those of you who don't know, that's politics, philosophy, and economics. So you do three of those, and you do all three in your first year, and then you can drop one. You can choose to drop one or carry on with all three into your second and third years. So in terms of why I think PPE, if not history, obviously the first thing to say is that there's a lot of similarities. A lot of the things that I enjoy about history, I would probably also enjoy about PPE. So definitely kind of writing essays, all the sort of critical thinking involved in kind of doing kind of humanities tutorials. So discussing quite complex texts at quite a fast pace, something I really enjoy doing in my history degree. And that definitely would still happen in PPE. I'd pretty much learn similar skills in the sense of those kind of soft skills, being able to read through that information very quickly, come up with an argument, structure my answer, that kind of stuff, stuff that I just enjoy doing and is also kind of useful. So in that sense, yeah, first thing I think those similarities are worth mentioning. I think the second thing is that obviously PPE offers quite a lot of breadth, obviously in the fact that you're doing all three kind of disciplines, but in particular, you can do kind of qualitative and quantitative work when you're doing a PPE degree. So, when you're writing kind of philosophy and politics essays, you're doing what I would call kind of qualitative work. You're reading kind of vast reams of text and coming up with an argument, coming up with a kind of evaluation of a series of propositions in philosophy, or trying to work out kind of what to do in a given sort of political situation. But then in economics, and actually partly in the other two as well, but mainly in economics, you might look more kind of at mathematically. So look at kind of different models of kind of the economy and how it works. And in doing so, you build a kind of mathematical skill set as well. And I think one thing that I very much envy actually is the ability of PPE students to kind of use both ways of thinking about the world. I think that's really, really cool. Something I definitely respect among PPE students, and something that for me, I find very appealing. And the third thing is that I think PPE, particularly politics and philosophy, gives you a kind of good grounding in sort of the key Western texts of like politics and philosophy. So you leave it kind of knowing, what Kant argued, or what kind of the key political scientists or political theorists, Marx and stuff, what they've all kind of proposed about the world. I think in history, because you sort of will pick a particular period and you'll study that period, you might occasionally mention something about Marx if it's relevant to your topic. You might think about the kind of historical context of Kant if you're doing something in the 18th century to do with his philosophy or to do with kind of a period of history in which he featured. But you don't kind of know like those fundamental arguments that I think are really important and that have kind of shaped very much kind of Western sort of intellectual development. And that comes obviously with a big caveat that which I think I'll probably mention when I talk about, why history is still a really, really good option, is that at least from my understanding, and obviously I'm not a PPE student here, especially in your first year, the works that you will read will be kind of Western and it will be that canon, and thinking kind of beyond that canon to that like set of texts of kind of key philosophers isn't something that you'll do until a bit later on in the degree. But yeah, I think for those three reasons, I think that the kind of breadth that it provides, I think a lot of the similarities, and because you kind of have that grounding in a lot of fundamental texts, I think that makes, for me, PPE quite an appealing choice.
Nice. Yeah, that is really interesting. No, especially no, a few friends who do PP and they do like how like studying they're doing the option of Plato's Republic, like the beginning of what they would say the beginning of like Western politics and philosophy, and then how it's sprung from there. I wanted to ask, you mentioned that I know before this you were mentioning that there are different like joint honors or like of history that you would consider if it wasn't PP or history, and could you like talk us through that?
Yeah, sure. So when I was asking the first question, obviously the caveat was a kind of degree with no history in it. Yeah, so Oxford offers a series of kind of joint honours that involve kind of sort of history plus another degree. So the ones that are kind of relevant to this discussion are history and politics and history and economics. But you can also do history in a modern language, so French or German or some other languages as well, and history in English as well. And yeah, I mean, these courses are structured quite interestingly because I think usually it's a kind of 50-50 split between disciplines in terms of the modules that you do, with occasional overlaps. So obviously it varies on the kind of joint honors that you're doing. Yeah, so I think in history and politics in your first year, you'll do kind of 50% history modules, picking from the kind of history faculty list of options, and then 50% of it will be to do with politics. Yeah, so these are really cool modules because they kind of, this old cool honors because they sort of provide kind of everything that I potentially would have wanted, but perhaps in like slightly less detail, in the sense that kind of when you're doing history and politics, you're looking at you're doing some modules in history, so you're learning how to think like a historian, you're learning how to kind of place these different things in their appropriate contexts, but you're also studying political philosophy and political practice, so you're also looking at kind of the key political philosophers and stuff, and so getting some of that grounding, which is very cool. And so yeah, I mean, I think that the joint honors stuff is really useful and like definitely worth looking into, particularly if you kind of can't pick between these two two kind of very interesting disciplines. I mean, sometimes because of these joint honors you won't actually have to pick, you can do them both.
So yeah, as we're wrapping up, just wants to be clear. So if you could do a different degree that wasn't history, which one would it be between like the possible joint honors or PPE? And it sounds like you were set on history, and
yeah, so I think that I think I'd probably do something like potentially kind of history and economics. I think I definitely think very hard about that, because in particular it's because of that kind of being able to like do some quantitative work as well and thinking a bit more kind of mathematically about the world. I think that's the kind of skill set that I very much admire, and it would mean that that I wouldn't have to kind of forsake all the things that I really enjoy about history. So I think, yeah, if I could have a bit of history in my degree and do something else as well, then I think definitely I would pick history and economics. Having said all that, it is hard to make the right choice, and I think all of these degrees are really, really enjoyable, and a lot of people get, and also it's worth mentioning that kind of a lot of the time it's what you kind of put into them as well, and how much effort you decide to kind of place into, and how much effort you decide to like place in your degree, as opposed to kind of all the other extracurricular stuff that Oxford has to offer. So there's all sorts of other kind of ways in which you can make any of these degrees very fulfilling and make them work for you. So it's worth bearing that in mind, that even once you've picked a degree option, that's in no way kind of constraining the options available to you. You can definitely make it work for you.
nice. Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think what the viewers don't know, but I know about you is that you've done history, but it's because of your interest in economics as well, you managed to use your time and the resources that the university has to fulfill your curiosities in economics alongside your degree, which I know quite a few students in Oxford manage to use what the university has to offer, like the vast amount of books and resources to fulfill their curiosities around their degree or topics that are adjacent to their degree, but not exactly within their degree. Yeah, I think that's great. And yeah, and with your history, like, and with that, even without history economics, you're very much going into a job where it's very, very economics based. So it all like it's. I think people's degrees very much do not define them or limit them. Is one thing I've learnt for sure. But we're going to have to end it there on that bombshell. Thanks, Anthony, for sharing us your story and your opinion, and thanks to the viewers for tuning in. We haven't done this for quite a while, and we'll be doing this more and more as the admissions process come by. And we hope you guys stay safe, and we'll see you guys later.